Right, okay, so we've got Claire joining us today. Today, so it's the last week of this particular project, so we've been working on the kind of looking towards abstraction and stylisation, which some of you really got into. I brought all the still life objects back for anybody who wants to carry on with that. So these were some of the demos that we did. Slightly cubist style exercise. Yeah, so those are there. I thought today though I'd talk a little bit about plein air painting and working outdoors. So Monday we had a session in Hullbridge, which Jan came along to, and one or two of my other students. And I've got a couple of other sessions planned for June, if anybody's interested. So I'm thinking Hadley Country Park on Friday the 6th of June. So it'd be like 10:30 to 1 o'clock. And then Malden on the 23rd of June, so that's a Monday. So if anybody's interested in coming along to one of those, or both of those, they're there. So I want to just talk a little bit about plein air painting, and it can be as lightweight and simple as you want, or you can make it really complicated. So I'll give you the whole rundown. I think the lightweight small version, and that's the smallest I tend to work outdoors. And this is a nice, sorry, is that way up? It's a nice sort of pocket size work. So I can, this little sketchbook I take out. I just want to go for a walk. Might want to do something or a quick sketch when I'm out and about, but I don't want to lug a bag around or any other gear. And then with that, I could also fit a little tiny kind of watercolour box. So these are quite good for, I've got a couple of these, and this was the only one, this was the one that came to hand. Seems to be glued a bit. With that size sketchbook, sometimes I'll just bring a pen, a couple of pens, and this one is, it's like a cartridge pen, so although I think the cartridge dried up a bit, I need to add another cartridge to that. But you can also thin this down with one of these little brush pens. So these are quite a nice way of just doing quick sketches, tone sketches. Find the other one. So sometimes I've done whole pictures just doing, sometimes I'll take a little bit of ink off the brush and get a lighter tone, something like that. So they can be quite good. It saves taking jars of water out or bottles of water. Can also use the watercolour box in the same sort of way, just and basically just giving it a squeeze will get a little bit of water to come out, so I can get colour in like that, or maybe a bit in here. And then when I want to change the colour, I usually just get a bit of kitchen roll and just squeeze it out, squeeze the colour out in the kitchen roll. So if I just do that a couple of times, that will come fairly clean, and I could then just go over to, it's not quite as quick as having a jar of water, but it's a way of going from one to another. They're nice and portable. It's quite handy having a lid on a brush, so that you haven't then got to take a brush case and things like that. So they're really nice little sketching tools. So that's like the smallest I would go. And this is my bag for going out painting with, which I've probably shown you before. I usually keep a slightly larger sketchbook there, but nothing too big, as it will get a bit heavy. These kind of easels, when I first started working outdoors, I used this sort of easel, and I just made a couple of these trays. And the nice thing about that is it then means you can put your paints out here, your hands are free, you don't have to hold a palette. So that can work really nicely. For travel though, I find these a little bit cumbersome, maybe a little bit heavy, but they will work, they're fine really if you just want to try working outdoors and you've got something like this on a easel. These will fold down to about that length, so that's fairly good. Just pull that out of the way. And then this is the setup I tend to take up to London, so it's reasonably lightweight. Well, this is what I use in my kind of everyday painting kit, and all of it will fit in here. And then also I've got this box which is a bit heavier. I can keep, 6 or 7, about 4 boards in there. So I made this slot box so that the wet paint paintings will fit in there, and that's what I carry my work around in. There are slightly lighter ways of carrying boards. You can just put matchsticks around and put two boards together, and that will keep it from, with oil paint, stop them printing onto each other. But that is, it kind of protects the work, stops it getting dusty. Nice way of carrying it around. So yeah, this setup is this. You can buy boxes a bit like this. They're fairly expensive though. That's why I've kind of made my own. I made this one last year, and I made various ones in the past. And the idea is I've got my paint out here. I can take this bit off. I've just got some magnets on there, and that helps me to be able to just sort of clean all that down properly. I put my solvents in these are just coffee lids from the instant coffee we have at break. So I just Velcro a couple of those aside, a little bit of solvent there, and the other one I'll put a bit of painting medium, which will be like oil, linseed oil and solvent mixed together. I can use that to thin the paint or wash the brushes. I've also got this brush washer, which sometimes I hang off the side. Just have a bit of rag there. This tray, just use a bulldog clip, and that's part of my box I carry my brushes in. So that's a good way of carrying the brushes. I tend to keep any brushes that need cleaning in this box, and also usually take out a case of brushes as well. But if I wanted to be really lightweight, that would be plenty really. So that just clips on the side, and it means that I can then just do a little bit maybe out the window. So boards are usually hardboard or MDF. I'll just use that bit today. Yeah, when the brushes are wet, I usually just put them there. I've got a couple of notches there so they don't all run together. And that's basically, how I would work. I like having a bit of rag here so that if I do wash the brushes, I can dry them. Just do, I usually draw out with a little bit of paint, something like that. So we've got a little bit of that, perhaps a little bit of the key side here. A couple of fans parked. It's not particularly exciting view out the window. I was thinking to do a demo outside, but it's not that exciting right at the minute. But if you did want to work outside, then by all means, give it a go. I know sometimes people have wanted to go outside. Mary sometimes goes out, a few others. And Izzy, you've done some work out. The afternoon group are quite keen on working out, so we've done quite a bit of work outside in the afternoon group. So yeah, basically sort of do me kind of sketching with fluid paint. That will dry fairly quickly, and then I would then perhaps go to slightly bigger brushes and work background to foreground. If it's a big area of paint, I tend to get a palette knife just to mix the paint. It's just easier to. Some of these paint. Well, these paints I put out actually on Tuesday or maybe even the weekend. I can't remember. So with the oil, some of this will stay nice and wet for a while, so I just keep using it until it's unusable, and then it gets scraped off. I think different people have different approaches. Really, that's a bit too similar to the colour I've got, isn't it? Make it a bit grey and then a bit brown. Yeah, so I would work. Basically, work background to foreground with oils. Work some sky in up here, and then gradually, that's a little bit of the horizon. Work that in. I usually try and just get some solid colour everywhere, and I can thin this a little bit, and do it too thick. Either thin it with solvent or medium. Hopefully the first layer will dry a little bit, but I tend to paint reasonably thinly, and that way, once I've got some paint on, I can then work some more paint over the top and into that. So if I just see in here, something like that. It could be then that I might need to go to a smaller brush. If I use a brush with a reasonably long hair, I can then usually paint wet paint over the top of wet paint, and usually a little bit of medium as well. So I've got the medium, but you know, say if there was a boat there, which there isn't at the moment, but if there's a boat passing, you know, there's a chance of getting some more wet paint into that. With a sort of light touch. So that's a bit on plein air painting if anybody wanted to give that a go. Yeah, I think it's the best way to paint, I really do. I think it's such an enjoyable experience being outside painting. Anybody got anything? Questions or anything?
There's loads of boats out today, I noticed. Just a bit further.
Is there further along?
Loads,
Yeah.
literally loads. So
Yeah.
just out, I think not far.
Oh,
So I
right,
thought
okay.
the way in.
Yeah, well, you could do. Yeah, if you want to go, yeah, do some.
And then that way is also good, isn't it? That's what we do.
Yeah.
This bit here.
I think it's just this bit here. There's loads of either end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this bit.
Yeah. But yeah, if anybody wanted to work outdoors today, you know, I'm quite happy to, you know, to and fro. No, too cold.
No, it's not that warm today.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, leave it at that. Yep. Okay.